A backdrop of burned-out buildings and destruction greeted the president as he toured Kenosha over the objections of some state and local leaders. Violent protests erupted in the city after police shot Jacob Blake, a black man, 7 times in the back last month. The president says police are sometimes under tremendous pressure and criticized calls to defund them.
We have to condemn the dangerous anti-police rhetoric. It's getting more and more. It's very unfair. You have some bad apples, we all know that, and those will be taken care of through the system.
When asked about systemic racism in policing, the president said the real problem is the rioters.
Well, you just keep getting back to the opposite subject. We should talk about the kind of violence that we've seen in Portland and here and other places. It's tremendous violence.
In the battleground state of Wisconsin, where current polls show the president trailing Joe Biden, the president promised federal resources for police and small businesses to help the city rebuild.
We will provide $1 million to the Kenosha law enforcement so that you have some extra money to go out and do what you have to do. I'm also providing nearly $4 million to support these small businesses that I talked about today that got burned up, burned down. And we're going to be providing over $42 million to support public safety statewide, including direct support for law enforcement and funding for additional prosecutors to punish criminals and resources to provide services to victims of crime.
As violent protests continue, the Department of Justice is looking into who's funding the rioting happening in cities across the country. DHS Secretary Chad Wolf says people are being flown from city to city to take part in the violence.
We had about 175 arrests in Kenosha. Almost 100 of them were from out of state. So we know they're moving around. We've seen them in D.C., in Sacramento, and elsewhere. They're organized. We've seen similar tactics being used from Portland and other cities across the country as well.
Wolf says the Department of Homeland Security will assist in the probe. Meanwhile, according to Oregon Live, in Portland, where nightly violent protests are approaching 100 days in a row, the city's mayor is moving after protests outside his residence. Ted Wheeler, who is also the city's police commissioner, has been criticized for failing to control months of violent protests in his city. He now says it's best that he find a new place to live after protesters set fires and broke windows at his condo building. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.